Alright, so I saw this today. It said 8 winners and 6 losers from the 2024 NFL Draft. And before I get into this, let me give my winners and losers from the NFL Draft, okay? Starting off right away, the number one winner, Joe Burrow. I mean, in the end, whether you like, dislike, think that Amaris Mims is going to be a bust, thinks he's going to be good, at the end of the day, they spent a first round pick on a guy to protect Joe Burrow. That's number one. Number two, they gave him a wide receiver in the third round who is a really good receiver from Bama, and that gives him even more another weapon to target in the passing game. They gave him 2 tight ends. One was a blocker, one's more of just a vertical threat, but that's again more weapons to work with. And also, of course, I mean, listen, keeping Joe Burrow upright is all that matters. And we got a center in the 7th round who has the ability to hopefully play guard and maybe take over for Cordell Volson. So no matter what, the number one winner from this draft is 1000% Joe Burrow. Number two, the biggest winner from this draft is Lou Anarumo. He gets Chris Jenkins, who's a really amazing defensive tackle from Michigan, who just won the Natty. Shout out to him for that. He's an amazing run stuffer that can shut down pretty much any running back in the backfield. That's amazing. We also have Jackson, who's another D tackle, who again is another run stuffer who can shut down the guys in the backfield. So he has those 2 guys, and then he also, of course, has Josh Newton, another quarterback for his rotation. We picked up another edge rusher later on in the draft, and then we picked up a safety. So Lou is number 2 when it comes to just being able to have, actual winners here. The next winner, I guess you could say our running back situation, like Chase Brown and Zach Moss, because we didn't get a new running back. But even if we did, I don't think that would impact them in any way possible. Because, well, yeah, we could get a new running back. They're still going to be the starters, and there's no one who's really going to take over for either guy, especially with the situation they're in. I mean, we have Zach Moss for 2 years. We have Chase Brown as our future running back of this team. And there was some speculation we could take a running back in some way, but, probably wasn't in the cards, I would say. The biggest losers, those are the 3 biggest, I guess the running backs, I would say the third. Biggest losers, right? Number 1 is the tight end group. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of names, and there's a lot of faces, and there's a lot of people now who are competing for this job. And we have 5 tight ends now. We picked up a 6th one. No, we have 5 tight ends. We have Mike. We have Tanner Hudson. We have Drew Sample. We also drafted Eric All and Tanner. And then we also picked one up. So we do have 6. We have 6 tight ends all competing for one job. And really the biggest loser here, I guess you could say, would be Tanner Hudson. Because he's the odd man out. He just signed a 1-year contract for pretty much league minimum. You have Drew Sample, who just signed a 4-year deal for $15 million. He's not leaving. Mike is guaranteed to stay here for at least this year and become the starter. So the loser here now would be Tanner Hudson, who has to compete against Eric All, against Tanner, the other Tanner, ironically enough, McLaughlin, and also compete against any undrafted players. I don't really think it's going to be that hard for him to compete, and at the end of the day, we're going to keep 2 more tight ends, I feel like. If we don't go into the season with 4 tight ends, I'll be heavily surprised, because Mike spent 70% of his work last year was in the slot. So I'm expecting him to, be that guy in the slot. Other than that, though, there isn't really anyone else I think who's losing. I mean, I guess you could say the idea of bringing back Tyler Boyd would be a loss, but that's not really saying much of anything. I guess Chuck Sizzle's a loss. And also a little side note here. So PFF says that Jermaine Burton's going to be a slot receiver in the NFL. I know I got a couple comments of people saying, oh no, he's going to be an outside receiver. He played outside of Alabama. He's an outside guy. For some reason, like PFF thinks he's going to become a slot receiver. So I'm only going based on what they say. We don't know how this is going to work out. But I guess if he does become a slot receiver, then the problem would be the biggest loser would obviously be Chuck Sizzle. But even then, just drafting a receiver, another receiver, is just automatically a loss for Chuck Sizzle. Because you got Yoshi, who's going to take another step forward, have a really great year. And if that's the case, then Chuck Sizzle really is just finding himself as the odd man out. But maybe that's also not really that big of a loser, because at the end of the day, Chuck Sizzle now becomes our pure kick and punt returner, and he doesn't have to worry about getting injured on offense, and he can focus on what he's good at, which is kick and punt return. So those are my biggest winners and losers, I would say. There's not many losers in my opinion, but according to this, they said Frank Pollock is the biggest winner. How? Like, don't get me wrong. Yes, he got the man Mims. But I don't really think that's that much of a winner for Pollock, because if Mims doesn't work out, which, again, he is a risky play. I think he's going to be great, but at the end of the day, he could also fail. And if he fails, this is going to look like, if he looks amazing and ends up being amazing and the best for our team, then Frank Pollock's going to look amazing. If Mims is a bust and he ends up failing and he's not the guy, then Frank Pollock is going to look like the worst offensive line coach ever. And he already does. So there's not really a win-win here for Frank Pollock. This is either a, wow, you are the guy, Frank, I'm sorry, or Frank, how have you not been fired sooner? So I kind of find that weird. But Joe Burrow, 100%. Yeah, I mean, most of this draft was offense. Most of this draft was focused on protecting and getting Joe more weapons. And I think it was a really great draft for that. James Casey, Marion Hobby. And then it says Zach Moss. Am I butchering his name? Marion Hobby, I think. Anyway, Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Again, like I said, yeah, I could see why they say that, because there's not another running back in the backfield. But I don't really think that this draft they're winners, because we also picked up 2 running backs in free agency through the undrafted, free agents. So in a way, they could become, different guys competing for the job too. So I don't really agree with that too much. Lou is obviously, again, another winner here. And then they have Cordell Volson. And I completely disagree with this, actually. Because, again, Matt Lee, I feel like, should not have fell to the 7th round. I think that's kind of ridiculous he fell to the 7th round. He has a lot of potential to be great. But also, I mean, we're still bringing in more guys in free agency where you still have other options. So I guess from this draft in particular, we didn't target a guard at all, other than, again, Matt Lee, who could be a guard or center. But I still I don't know. I still 100% agree with that. Cordell Volson is the loser out of this, because this is like our future when it comes to, maybe they put Mims at guard. I doubt they would, but they could, you never know. They could try him out at guard, which he would lose out. I think he would beat out Cordell Volson. So I guess right now for this draft alone, he's a winner. Jackson Carman, Andre Smith. Yeah, I guess. I mean, again, like I said, it's one of those situations where it's like he's a winner because of the fact that Mims is not going to be the starter right now. So they're losers, but they're also not going to be the backups. I think Jackson Carman, though, is kind of strictly the backup at left tackle for Orlando Brown, because Jackson Carman at left tackle is actually not that bad. A lot of people trash on him and bash him. He's actually not that bad at left tackle. He just sucks at right tackle. And that's just, it is what it is. He's not supposed to be right tackle. He sucks at it. He's not, I say really good. He's average or a little bit below average at left tackle. So I don't really think it really is that much of a big deal for Jackson Carman. But for Devonta Smith, this is actually a huge deal, because that's a position that probably he would be the backup for Trent Brown, and now he has to compete with Mims, and reality-wise, there's no competing. He's going to be gone. But with how much we have, like, depth purposes-wise for the offensive line, and we need that, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. I'm going to go ahead and put this here, because these freaking advertisements are annoying. Sorry. Anyway, though, so I get it, yeah. Jackson Carman, Devonta Smith. Chuck Sizzle, again, like I said before, I think he's a loser for the fact of him being able to contribute in the offense more. but I think he's a winner because it's the opposite point of view here. Now he gets to go ahead and be on strictly kick and punt return, and he doesn't have to worry about, too many factors. He just has to worry about what he's good at. Tanner Hudson. Yeah, Tanner Hudson. That's gonna be difficult. I'll tell you right now. That's gonna be difficult when you have 3 guys in there. 2 already locked in. You have Drew Sample and you have Mike, who's locked in. These ads are crazy. Anyway, though, yeah, those 2 guys locked in makes perfect sense. And then, the other 2, other 3, 4, it's up anyone's job. Brad Robbins, I forgot about this. How did I forget about this? We literally signed. I guess, but see, that's the thing, though. Because are we going to really go... how far are we stretching this? Because if you're going to say Brad Robbins, then you can say that for any of the other players. Zach Moss and Chase Brown. They're losers because now they have to go against undrafted free agents we just picked up. So if you're going to say, well, we just picked up the Texas Tech guy, well, we also picked up these other guys. Cordell Volson, we picked up 3 offensive linemen who are from the draft. So this is why I don't get this. I thought we were putting the goalposts or making the goalposts saying just the NFL draft and not past the NFL draft. Because if you're going past the NFL draft, then all your things, CincinnatiJungle.com, is incorrect. Because now you're moving the goalposts. Zach Carter makes sense because we got the guy in the 3rd round. But Brad Robbins, we didn't draft a punter. So he's not a loser for that. We picked up a punter. Then he would be a loser. But this says 8 from the NFL draft class. Right here, it says 6 winners and losers from the NFL draft class. So I disagree. Brad Robbins is not a loser for the NFL draft class. I think that would be incorrect. But okay, tell me down below your thoughts and opinions. And Zach Carter, yes, he is, because he is going to be replaced. Peace out, guys.